Ooh. Good evening, Sistah Girls. We have author Zahara here this evening. She so lovely decided to join us, and we are discussing her book, The B-Side. So, as we get started, I'm going to start with quick lightning round questions just while we have people joining and to get us loosened up. You ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. These are questions. Don't think too hard. Just the first answer that comes to mind. Water, wine, coffee, or tea?
All of them, but tea.
Morning or night?
Night.
Me too. Digital or print?
Digital.
You thinking? You thinking?
Yeah. I can't read print at night with the lights out, so we'll say digital.
Okay. Music or quiet?
Music.
Music. Okay. See, that wasn't too bad.
Mm-mm. No,
Just
that wasn't big.
it says we have 3 people on so far. So hi to those who now went back down to 0. Okay. They'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also recording this, so we're going to go ahead and just jump into the questions. Oh, my first question is, when did you know you wanted to be an author?
I think I always wrote. Like I always wrote stories and songs. That's not my forte, but I always wrote stuff. So I would say forever, I knew I was going to write.
Okay. And is there any book that influenced you to want to become an author? Like any particular book that made you be like, yes, I want to, this is a moment.
Not book, but so when the street lit genre kind of hit and came in, so when you had like the Quans and the T Styles and the Nikki Turners and so Sister Soldier, and when they came in, I was like, I already loved to read, but I was like, okay, I can do this. Like I knew I probably couldn't do like the Harlequin romance and the Jackie Cobb. I couldn't do that,
Right.
but when they came in, I was like, oh, all right, I can do that.
Okay. And you're like, so do you believe, so what you saying that, do you believe writing according to a genre? And if so, what genre would you put your writing under?
I try not to be bound by a genre,
Okay.
but I think that you should respect when you are writing in a genre. I think that you should respect that genre.
So so for instance, the B-side, what would you say if you had to put it in a genre, what genre would it be? Because this book is kind of like, I don't want to say it's not all over the place, but it has so
It's
many
all
different,
over the place.
it has so many different elements that it's like, what would you, if you had to put it in a genre, what would you put it under?
I would say I would just African American erotica because
Okay.
Sin is not quite. I mean, he
He's
has
not a hood
like
dude. He's not a hood dude, but
right, but he has
he
those hood roots though. He does
right, but
have
he has
those
an
roots.
urban background, but he's
Right,
not like, he's not a product of his environment, and you definitely touch on that.
right,
That he is not affiliated, even though you make it clear that this is how he grew up.
right.
So, and
Right. So I would just say erotica but then he's also not, they've kind of like fall in between because he's also not like, Mr. Gray either. You know what I mean? So they kind of fall in the middle.
okay. And what is your favorite genre to read?
Street lit, hood shit. Now, but not like, I mean, I like,
Hood shit
um,
with a story, right?
right. I like urban romance. I do, but I like when the hood shit is the story and then the romance is the backdrop. But again, that is kind of like how I came in to urban literature. So I guess maybe I'm just stuck there.
It's been my favorite. I tell people all the time, it's my favorite. Anything with urban, and then like I need the urban. Like
Mm-hmm.
it could be urban romance, it could be urban erotica, it could be straight urban, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, it has to have some facet of urban. It can even be
Right.
urban paranormal. That's been like the big thing this year, urban paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have to have some from a cultural aspect, and it doesn't have to be gritty. Like it doesn't have to be completely street, but it has to be some type of urban element to it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I try to explain to people, like the doctors I know, the lawyers, like the people that I know still have that grit still
Right.
on them. Like, and I don't want to read about people who don't necessarily have that.
I can relate. I can relate. Definitely has to have some type of
Yeah.
roughness
Yes.
to the material. Like it can't
Yes.
just be straight romance. Like straight romance bores me. Like I don't like bubblegum romance.
Right.
I don't like bubblegum romance. I feel like those characters lack depth. They don't really speak to me as a reader. So
Right.
I definitely started in street lit, and then it was like for me it was definitely that gritty street lit. Like whoa,
Right.
like
Right.
and then it was like, okay, I can like then it started to broaden into urban
Mm-hmm.
romance. And it was like,
Right.
oh, street lit and romance together. And
Right.
that's where I felt my real sweet spot. It's like, oh, I can get both. I can
Right.
get somebody
Exactly.
buying a dozen of flowers
Yeah.
and oh,
Yeah.
this is great. Like
Yeah.
that's the urban romance is where like that is my sweetest
Mm-hmm.
part. Like, oh,
Me
this is
too.
I get a lot. It's like getting two for one special.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Sometimes I still like you said. Sometimes I still go straight to my hood shit though. Like I just
Right.
want straight hood in drama, like arguing projects. Like I sometimes I want that, and
Yeah.
I have no chance of saying that. Sometimes I want straight gutter. This is terrible. I probably should never read this in my life, but it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good. And I'm like, this is just so good. And it's like it used to be so shameful. Like, why are you reading this? Now it's like, listen, this is what I like.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Right.
what
Because I remember people would be like, oh, you reading those hood books? Yes. Yes.
yeah. And even like definitely like I actually had like in high school got my books taken from me at one point,
Oh, wow.
and I had to like argue as to why these books were still like this was still literature. Like this is still literature. Like I'm still reading. Like
I did a
but
college paper on True to the Game. Not True to the Game, Coldest Winter Ever.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's still literature and you still can learn so much from it.
Yeah.
It definitely increases your perception, and I don't know. I
Because on
just
the flip side, my wife, like they laugh, like romance gets laughed about no matter what. So like the proper romances, they get joked about and laughed about as not being real lit too. So
it's true. Yeah, okay. So you are an independent author,
hmm
and you have how many books have you published thus far?
so I have two pen names.
Yes.
So I have two books under the Lena
I
B
was
pen
I was
name.
gonna ask that because I wasn't sure if you like is that something that I know that, but is that something that everybody that you like promote?
I hadn't really, but it seems like I can't get away from it. And it seems like it would be easy. I think it's harder doing it this way.
Okay.
So I
So
have two
why the
under the
two pen
Lena
names?
B. You said why the two pens? Well, because my first book the first book I published was Quarantine Chronicles. The first book I wrote in totality was Group Therapy, and that's a Christian fiction book. And
Yes,
so, okay, and so I definitely didn't want like a certain demographic to like jump in, like to click on my to look
Amazon
at on
author
my
page.
Amazon, right, and then jump into something that they didn't feel comfortable with.
Right.
But then on the other
Because
hand, it's like, well, we'll just
this
read
is
the genre.
completely like when I read because I read the B side first, and then
Okay.
I like, did my research. Like I'm somebody like once I like an author, I want to like
Me too.
I'm gonna go figure who out who
Yes.
this person is, who like where are you? Why am I just finding out about you? And I was like expecting more books, and I was like, wait, this is the only book. Like where are the books? Like I was waiting for, and like because I didn't read Quarantine Chronicles first. I just read the B side.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I don't even know how I even found the book. But yeah, so you have Quarantine Chronicles, then you publish Group Therapy, which is about a pastor, his wife, his children,
Yes.
and um the different relationships. I don't want to give too much because I want people to might maybe go read it because it was actually
Right.
a very interesting uh it was a very interesting new relationship, especially coming from a church standpoint.
Right.
Because I don't know, I don't want to say too much, but like I'll say this.
Yeah. It wasn't too churchy. I tried not to make it too
It wasn't too
churchy, but
churchy. The stepmom was interesting, and it was definitely a different dynamic. It was a completely different dynamic than
yeah.
Quarantine Chronicles and the B side.
Right.
So, what like is that? Can you speak to those different parts of yourself as an author?
I think people want you to be one way. And as a person, like you have all of these things, like, you're a Christian woman, but like I mean, I have kids. I've obviously had sex quite a few times, you know what I mean? And I don't think it's anything wrong with sexuality. I think that you don't really, really understand people until you understand their sexuality. Like I guess you never get to really meet somebody, but you understand the person that you're open and vulnerable with sexually in a way that you don't know someone else. Even with
Right.
character development, I think when you don't see that side of your characters, you don't get to really know them, because you might have like your character, like you might be in an urban romance like you like to read, and he might be the hardest nigga walking down the block, but then he comes home and he's like soft, he's like marshmallow and very vulnerable and can be that way with the woman that he's with. And I think that kind of adds depth to your characters. And so even with the erotica, I try not to only be sex. Like I want you to see the character of the person.
Right. Because it took a while. Like the book, it doesn't pick up until 50%, which I love. I know a lot of people don't love that, but I'm big on character development. And I
Mm-hmm.
know in this day and age, like that's not a big thing. Like people want just this,
Yeah.
they want what the book is about right then and there. And I think that's why I love the book, because now it's so hard finding books where you actually get the background and you kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn who the characters are prior to getting to this point. And I think you did a really good job of giving just enough information of why, like the history and the background of these
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Thank you.
Um, but before we get to the book, I just wanted to ask, what made you want to tell an urban erotica tale? Like, what made you say, because this book really had the opportunity to be straight romance.
Mm-hmm.
What made you push it to that not limit, but what made you push it to cover? You technically are covering like 3 genres in this book, because you have the urban, which
Mm-hmm.
I think rap music, like he's a rap producer. Like, yes, it's
Right.
focused on the R&B side in this book, but it's made very clear that he started as a rap producer, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what he's making beats for. Even though it's focused on this R&B girl in this book, but he
Yeah.
clearly, and then clearly the people that he's making, like he clearly talks about that these people that he's doing business with, they started as drug dealers. Some of them are still in
Mm-hmm.
the streets. So you had that urban element there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the romance, because Sim was romantic as fuck. Like I was
Yes.
like goodness, like I want to wake up the roses and Cartier bracelets as well.
Yes.
And then you have the erotica. So it's really like 3 genres in one that you
Mm-hmm.
cover in this book. So like what, like you could have really stopped at the romance. Like they could have been next door neighbors to lovers is a
Yeah.
story within itself. So what made you then say, oh, but I want Sin to have this layered persona where he's also into BDSM, so to speak?
Well, so Sin, I just saw them passing in the hallway one day in my head, like, because so back it up. Quarantine Chronicles really is just I saw a picture of ice. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw
All
this.
white man that
Right.
has tattoos all over himself.
Yes. So you might have seen the picture, like it was floating around everybody's social media. It was this white guy laid back on the bed. He's like totally naked. He's covering himself, but he's got tattoos everywhere, and it was floating everywhere. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna write about him." And so I wrote Mahogany and Chalk and Ice's story, and then it just my girlfriend was like, "Well, do a story about a guy." Conversations in the Dark, John Legend. She was like, "Oh, write something to this." And so that's how Demi and Heavy came about. And Nyla and Cross, I wanted them to be like I just didn't want a couple like that was having problems that were cheating. So I was
Right.
like, let me find a couple who has a problem that's not cheating. And then
They got
I
8
had
kids.
space. Right.
They have 8 kids. That's
Six. They got six.
girl was like 8. I just kept reading names. I just kept reading names. I was like, that's a lot of names.
Right. But it was during like the time with like the unrest and like riots and stuff. And I was like, God damn, I'm tired of seeing Black people like spread out on the ground. Let me see them in another way. And so I wanted to show Black bodies in another way. And so that was a big deal for Quarantine Chronicles. So it wasn't necessarily planned. Um, but Sin was mysterious. I'm like, what the hell? What does he do? I don't know. He just like Sin is just Sin. I didn't make Sin up. Sin made himself up.
I love that. So who did you meet first? Sin or Rory?
I met them at the same time when I just saw them like passing in the hallway. And
Wow.
I saw her like, because she's like, oh, he could be a serial killer. She's like a weirdo. So she's like, he could be a killer. And that's just how it just fell into place.
Okay. How much research went into the characters, their backgrounds, their upbringing? Like how much of the research went into that? How much research went into that, and how much what made you decide to share so much of their backgrounds with the reader, especially because like we discussed these days, like it's usually this is the story and that's it. Like you don't really get a lot of development.
I did not plan. I planned after people asked for more of the stories, I planned to do 4 30K novellas. Like that was the plan. And I
Yeah,
started
everybody
writing.
completed.
Right. And so I started writing where I left off in Quarantine Chronicles, and I was just like, something isn't right. And an author friend of mine was saying how she normally writes her books the middle first and then writes the beginning and the end. And I was like, that sounds so stupid. But then I was writing, I'm like, no, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I went back and I was like, okay, well, how did we get here? Like,
how did they get to Baltimore? How did they start living in this? Well, technically it's Sin's house, even though she doesn't know that.
Right.
It's Sin's house. He
Right.
owns the house. He made it seem like he's also just renting.
Yeah.
I found completely hilarious because he's like, "Oh, let me call the property manager." Like, bro, you don't got keys to your own house.
But he doesn't. Like, you'll see
But
that
I
in
believe
part
he
two.
doesn't know the kind of person he is. But it's like, you own this house. Why don't you have keys?
Yeah, you'll see that in part two because he doesn't. He does use the property manager.
So you started with the middle.
Mm-hmm. And I went back and wrote the beginning. And yeah, it just wrote itself. Like, I mean, it took a minute, but it just wrote itself.
Because I mean, it's a very traumatic beginning. Like the very beginning of the book is so traumatic. Like your throat. Like I don't know for some people if you didn't read Quarantine Chronicles first. I'm backwards. Like I'm telling you, I read the B-side, and I really don't know. I do a lot of book research for the book club because I'm always looking for something new and fresh, and an author that I want to introduce to readers. Like I always want to introduce new authors to readers. So I don't even know. I really don't know how I stumbled across this book. It literally was December. I think I was sick. I was like just up reading, and I had downloaded like maybe 100 samples, and I was like,
wow.
Yeah. If you saw my Kindle, you would be like, girl. I literally just would download samples from books that are being talked about in the book club or
yeah, I sample too.
And I was like, so I read the sample and I was like, well, I have to finish this book. And I think it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I text Lex and I was like, Lex, I think I found something. And this was like in December. When I looked and I was like, the book came out in August and I'm just reading to this. And I'm like, whoa. So then I'm like, of course, I clicked on like, the author and I'm like, oh, it's another book. And I didn't realize Quarantine Chronicles was for short stories. I'm like, oh wow. So I didn't even read the part. Like I literally started from the beginning.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this poor little girl. So I wanted to see how she ended up because like that is so
yeah. It's Rory has had it rough.
Really rough. And I'm like, for her to be so sweet and innocent, I'm like, she's had a rough life. And it's clear, her dad got some kind of money, like they're upper middle class and live a rather okay life. But to experience something so traumatic, like the start of your life, that could really damage a person.
Yeah, and it's damaged her. I don't know if you paid attention when Paris is asking her, like, are you on that shit again? Like, because I mean, I guess it's not like, I don't want to dip too much into book 2, but in book 1, clearly she can attach to people inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So, or rather fast. Let me say that.
Right. Because even her
Yeah.
friendship with Peach is almost instant. Like,
Right. Exactly.
and it, I mean, but she talks about it herself, always looking for that satisfaction in her father,
Hmm.
never getting it, even knowing like, I don't want to say he wasn't a good person, but it would be easy to say like that this is not a good person. Because how,
Yeah.
like, what kind of person does, what kind of person behaves this way?
Right. Not even how she got here or how she got back there.
Right, right.
Just,
It's not even
just
necessarily about that.
right.
It's
Just
how
like
we
that
meet him as a
scene, that
character.
flashback scene in the beginning. It was just like, you're an asshole. Like, you're really an asshole. And he's just an asshole.
Right.
So, and he's not, and assholes don't always come like, you're not necessarily like rude and disrespectful out and out, but just like, you don't
No
even
consideration.
care about what's happened.
It's no consideration.
Right.
It's it's no consideration. It's no like, it's like she said, he literally dropped her on his wife's lap and was like,
Deal with
raise
it.
the baby. I
Right.
know I got this baby from cheating, but raise it. And it was
Right.
like, you didn't, in a way, it's like the mom, you can't tell she has any hard feelings against this child,
Hmm.
but he's not who she wants her to be at the same time.
Right. And everybody hates her mom. I don't hate her mom. Her
I
mom
don't
is,
hate her mom
yeah,
because
her mom is a mom.
yeah, she wasn't it, from what we can see from their relationship, she wasn't nasty or mean to this young lady, but she had her mom has certain ideologies
Right.
and her other daughters fell in line so easily. It just so
Hmm.
happens that this child did not, even though they were raised the same. And I guess it kind of comes into play that question of nature versus nurture.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of people were like, oh, her mom. And I'm like, I don't think if this was her biological daughter, I don't think her mom would be any different.
That's how I looked at it too.
Right.
Oh, oh, okay. We got a comment that say Audrey Mason was awful in book one. I don't think she was out that way about the dad, more so the mom. I felt like the dad was awful. So I don't know. I don't, and it wasn't even necessarily I was looking at it as a in respect to she was more the dad's responsibility because that was his biological child. I just feel like he didn't, from Rory's story point, he did not father her.
Right.
But did he?
Right.
It's like we don't know enough about his relationship with his other daughters, but he probably didn't father them any either.
Right. But I still think, I mean, one just a spoiler from book two is I still think she feels as though his smile doesn't match his eyes with her.
Hmm.
And so yeah.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna leave it at that. Okay, so we got some of Rory's backstory. Let's talk about Sin.
Hmm.
Sin is like Sin, is like it's like you did such a good job of writing a quiet character that's so strong.
Oh wow. I'm over here like he drives me nuts. Like literally I wrote 25,000 words and eventually he was just like, I don't want to say that. Like literally he's like, I'm not doing that. Like, and I'm like, it's so hard, I can't connect with them. And I feel like he was off to the corner like, because I didn't tell you to write that shit. And so I had to go back like
I
something
love
is
when a
wrong.
character. I love when authors tell me that characters are so strong in who they are, because
Ugh.
it's like, girl, it's your imagination. Make this character do what you want it to do, and it's like, so it really doesn't work that way.
No, and I thought it did. I was like, they be lying. But no, literally, sincere is to this, like, why would I say that? Why? Like last night I was writing a sex scene and Roy said something and I was like, girl, you would not say, I don't feel comfortable writing that. And then I was like, then I'm just trying to keep writing and it's not working until I'm like, okay, let me put it in. And it flowed. But I was like, all right, bro. Like that's how you want to get down. Okay.
Yeah, Sincere. Like, so how did you? What for? So first, Sincere is he is a first generation American
Yes.
because his father is not from America, but he comes to America, marries his this American black American woman. They're both
Yeah.
black, but it's very clear that Sincere has still very much strong African features and
Mm-hmm.
not
The
quite,
African, like, yeah.
yes, that he's African and not just African American. I mean, we're all
Right.
African, but his features are very pronounced. But he still has this urban persona, I guess. So,
Right.
but he's so quiet. How did you
Yeah.
write such a quiet character?
Well, so because he wouldn't like it
He's
wasn't like
like it's like I almost feel weird reading from his viewpoint because it's
yeah,
all mental, like it's all in his mind.
most of it, yeah.
It's
And
not
I
like
kept saying, like, what happened? Like, did you have delays? Like, I'm like detailed, like writing notes. Like, did he have delayed speech? Does he like what is it? A speech impediment as a child? Like, what is it? And no, he just don't have shit to say. And I was like, okay, I have to respect it because when I thought about like, there's some people that just are quiet. He's very observant,
he's
and
not
when you get to
slow.
the right, when
It's
you get
I
to him
actually
and
find it very
Demi,
attractive how quiet he is because I hate men that talk too much.
me, and so that's the kind of men that I like, the quiet in the background, like chill. Like I don't want you all over there in everybody's face. So I like that kind of person. But when you get to him and Demi having conversation, he's not quiet there.
Because he's comfortable and he's not
And
he's
he gossips.
comfortable. It was one time. It was
He
one time.
gossips. He
And
gossips.
Demi kind of forced him to
Right.
because Demi wanted some of his business, so she had to like spill
Right.
hers
Give him
first.
some of hers. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's clear that he has friendships. He talks to Ice,
Mm-hmm.
opens up to Ice. I think he's more so the type of person like if he likes your vibe, he likes to talk to you, he's gonna talk to you.
And
But
he has
if
something to say.
yeah, because I'm like he talks to Ice more, even more than he talked to Heavy and what's the
And
brother?
Quan. Mm-hmm.
Quan. He talked to Ice, like he told Ice what was going on with Tamara. And at one point, he had to talk to Tamara. I mean, granted, we don't see it in the book,
Right.
but where he was with Tamara for like like I said, because you did it in a way where the reader is in his mind and he's explaining his thoughts. He clearly can say that at one point his and Tamara's relationship was this, and now it's that. So at one
Right.
point they were talking and expressing to each other their opinions and what they wanted in a relationship.
Right. Maybe. Or maybe he just knew what he wanted in a relationship and expressed that. I don't know. Tamara is still a tricky one for me because well yeah, she's still a tricky one for me. She gone, so I guess she don't matter. But she has a heavy presence. She's very vital to what's going on with him now
I
and with
mean,
him and Ro.
I know some Tamaras, so
Yeah.
I think for me, Tamara was easy to place because I know a lot of Tamaras.
Yeah.
But okay, so you got this quiet, introspective, very observant character,
Hmm.
but that has a very strong presence because I mean, clearly, a lot of women are throwing themselves at this young man, even
Yeah.
without knowing who he is, because
Yeah.
nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
still
In the beginning, yeah, because they hadn't seen his face much. They saw like the back of his head, his hands. They didn't really see him. So yeah.
so. I mean, like where did he come from? Like he just
To me
appeared.
it goes to show like how well no he does have a strong presence, but it goes to show for me how women will like throw themselves at anything that's moving. Like if the train is moving, I'm gonna jump on it. Like he literally, like Rose said, could be a serial killer, but I'm gonna jump on it because it's moving in that direction.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
He knows a lot too.
Yeah, he's knowledgeable, he's smart, he just don't have a lot to say. Like for what? Now I think he talks a little bit more in book two.
Mm-hmm.
In spurts he talks a little bit more in book two.
Because he's a definitely interesting a character. So we did talk about Rory's traumatic backstory some, and it involves abandonment, cheating, witnessing this gruesome event of her mother's death. How does how did that in book one play into this relationship with Sin, because originally their relationship moved, their feelings for each other moved like at lightning speed.
Right.
Usually this was supposed to be like a jump off situation.
Right.
How, like, do you like, are their feelings real? Do you think like their feelings are real, or is this a situation that they're both kind of using as outlets because of all of these other emotions? Like, even though Lee cheated on her a year ago, she's over it. She never wanted to be with Lee to begin with, but it still hurt her feelings.
Right.
And she says constantly in the book, these kind of things don't happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like he is aiding her ego in a way where it's like,
I think they were a perfect storm.
I'm being
I
choked.
think it was like the perfect storm. And she's coming back to, so she's coming to Baltimore to connect, like, okay, my mom is from there. I'm going there to kind of just know me, like grow, be away from my family. I gotta escape this shit over here. And then he's coming over to escape as well. And I think they just fell into each other and were able to comfort each other in their time of need. And in that, he was able to bring something out of her that she didn't know was there, because like she's like, I'm not a virgin. She's not a virgin, but she didn't have good sex, and she didn't have that sex that Sim was giving up. And so I think she's able to.
I don't think none of us had, well, I
Right.
none of us, but I read the book and I was like, you get this from Amazon? You get this from? You go buy this on Amazon? You can't buy this on Amazon. God damn, where do you find? Where do you even find this? Does it exist?
Right. I was researching, like, okay. But yeah, I think he pulled that out of her. So
Mm.
she's seeing herself in another way, feeling things that she's never felt before. And for on the other end, like she's a nurse, she's working, she's cool, like she's goofy, but Rory is cool. And so I don't think he says it, that he had never like encountered someone that he could have that side of his life with and be himself with as well.
Yeah, because
So,
Tamara shut it
right.
down at every corner, and I'm just was trying to figure out how he was with her for 5 years, but he was out doing other things.
Right. He was, in the clubs and stuff like that. So,
So was it important for you as an author to provide these backstories for both Sincere and Aurora prior to them meeting in Baltimore? Like, was that important, or do you feel like the story could have stood on its own without all of this information?
so Quarantine Chronicles got picked as one of the worst eroticas of 2020, right? On this podcast. I'm not going to name them. And when I say they drug me from cover to cover, they were like,
That's not
ice
nice.
ain't white, and they did this, and how she just gonna end up tied up in her neighbor's house, and da da da. And I was just like, God, like, oh wow.
Wow.
It was a rough crowd. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, no, I like these stories. I like the stories. I like the characters. And so I was like, okay, I think like your 1 star, whatever, F your 1 star, because it wasn't a 1 star. But I did feel like, okay, well, as an author, there's something that I didn't do. There's something that I didn't do. There's something that I didn't show. There's something that I failed at. And not to say just because you get a bad review means you fail, but you could
Right.
not have read all 4 of these stories and not been able to take anything from any of them if I really understood the assignment or showed you that I understood the assignment. So it was my goal to learn more about storytelling, to learn more about like story beats and stuff like that, so that I could bring a better story. Like, so I could present a better story
You
to the reader.
literally took a negative and made it work in your favor.
Right. Because at first I was pissed. And then I was like, okay, calm down. What are they saying? I mean, they called me misogynistic. They said it was misogynistic, xenophobe. It was a lot of stuff. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think you come to erotica to read like empowerment, but
You, yeah, you don't
right.
like, but, and they
But
literally
thank you to that podcast, because I
it
wrote a
literally
much better
says
book.
in the title, this is a erotica. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, all right, I don't know, but you use that. But okay, you use that information that resource,
Mhm.
that resource. And I think that's the word right there, that sometimes even things meant to damage us can do good. Like that's a word.
Right.
Like that was that, because you could have took that and you could have said, I'm never writing anything else again.
Right. Because I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't, like, maybe I shouldn't. And I pulled away for a little bit. And I was like, no, F that, because I think these are good stories and I'm getting good feedback on them. And so it might not be your cup of tea, but what can I learn from your review? And I think that as authors, we have to, like, some people make petty reviews,
Mhm.
but a lot of times there's real truth in those reviews and we can grow from them. Because how are you going to grow if everybody's like, oh, it's perfect? It's not perfect.
Nothing is perfect, but so you took that information, and was there anything particular that they wanted you to expound upon in these stories, or did you just decide that you were going to put more information? Like, what made you put so
I
much?
just decided y'all not going to play with me next time. That's what I decided. Like, y'all go the next one,
Because
y'all, if y'all
so
decide
much,
to read.
it's so much information, and not in it. To me, like I said, for me, I love that. Like I love that much information. I love character development, but it's really not big right now. So as a new author, it's like you really could have just went straight into, like, the fact that, even for instance, Arsene and Rory gonna realize that they bumped into each other at the birthing center back in LA,
Maybe.
right? So it's like you put a lot of information into this kismet moment, so to speak.
Right.
Like, these people, like, not only did they meet, she almost delivered his child. Like, she was this close to
Right.
the person who delivered his child.
Right.
It's like all of these. It was like this almost meet
Hmm.
where he could have fell in love with a nurse that delivered his child, because he could have, like, oh, I'm gonna hire her to help after Tamara's death, and he fell in love. Like, it was so many different ways this story could have been spun, and we have all this background information of, how Sim was raised and the kind of man that he is. Versus, again, that nature versus nurture argument.
Hmm.
He's not the same kind of man as his dad. Does he have?
But
Does
he is.
he is? But and that's
But
what I
he's
was
a
gonna
little
say.
different.
Does he respect some of the qualities his dad instilled in
Hmm.
him? Yes, but he still is his own man.
Right, right, right. But he's also in this space where, like he's grown as hell, and his dad is fixing the belt on his car, and he's like, when he's talking to his dad about Tamara, and he's like, I could do it on my own, but this is something that he needs to do. Like, it's important to his dad, so he
Hmm.
lets him do it. So I think that I tried to, like, so I did look up, like, family relations in, like, Ethiopian culture and stuff like that, because so it was like, they put a strong emphasis on, the elders. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that. Like, if I'm gonna bring somebody's culture, I'm gonna try to at least bring it at the best that I can.
Okay.
And so I think that he respects that, and I think that he, like he's like a 2.0 version, like you said.
Yeah.
He takes those qualities, but he is his own man.
There's a lot of secondary characters in the B side. Would you ever consider giving any of those characters like a spinoff? Like, we know the Quarantine Chronicles, they all have their own story. So not them, but for instance, Sin's sister, she got two kids. She'll never talk about her husband though.
Right? She does have a husband. They do talk about
I'm
him
not
once.
saying
He
he
gets
don't
met.
have a
Yeah,
husband. I'm just saying that every time he at the parents' house, it's the sister and
yeah.
the kids.
It is.
So
Yeah,
where her husband at? Because the dad got all this talk about what kind of man he wants Sincere to be. What kind of man
hmm,
he's married to? That's just the
right.
question I had
Well,
when
you're
he.
the second person who asked me about honesty. Like, is honesty getting a book? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know. You never know with these characters. They jump out the woodwork on you.
Oh well, I mean, I was just more so concerned, like, considering it's just so many characters
It is. It's
that
a
play
lot.
support roles. Because even Peaches, it's like, would you really want to read a whole book about Peaches? Possibly, I might.
Possibly. I
But
like
she's
Peach.
funny. She's
Yeah, I
funny.
like
Some
Peach.
of the
Yeah.
funny swimmers, like, I don't know, something about her personality. Paris is even funny. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to read a book about Lee and Sam though.
Hell no. No. No.
Even Aurora's parents, I feel like their relationship would make an interesting story.
Yeah, I think they would make like a good prequel or something. I think that anybody I mention is subject to have a storyline. And
Okay.
I think that I do try to bury characters that I think will have a storyline in what I'm currently writing, so that when they pop up again, they've been seen.
Okay. But that's more so my question, because I'm like, even like her parents, what was her dad doing in Baltimore? Like, you just was randomly coming to Baltimore, have a whole sexual relationship with this woman. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's just the way my mind works, but I start asking questions like, make it make sense, sir. So for
Right.
4 years, you was just popping to Baltimore with this child, and your wife ain't never was none the wiser. But you telling me this lady minded all your business? Nah, she knew. Like, and like the way it was written, it was like it wasn't. So when he brought Aurora home, it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't like she was like,
Right. Right.
"Where did this baby come from?" No, like it was no nervous breakdown. It was like he dropped the baby in her lap and just was like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo.
Right. Because the Audrey Masons of the world, like, cheating is not their biggest issue.
Mm. Mm. So what's their biggest issue?
I would think not having security. I would think stuff like
As long as long as she's the boss of it all, what you out here doing is that's none of her concern because she's
right,
the boss.
right. Because even Rory wrote about her mother going to college, having a degree, and just going there to catch a fish. You know what I mean? Like, that's what she went to school for. And a lot of women are raised like that. A lot of women go to college to meet a husband.
This is true.
And that's how she raised her kids. When they were at brunch, she talked about that.
That was
that's
just
how she raised her daughters.
Twitter.
What'd you say?
That was just a really big debate on Twitter.
Oh.
About women going to college to meet men. And the reason why a lot of Black women are unwed is because the enrollment rate at college for Black men is so low. Black men have the lowest college enrollment rates. So it's like, is this a correlation?
Yeah, it could. I could see that because a lot of married people that I know are married they met in college. Yeah.
So Audrey Mason, like, I don't know. I don't know if I could read, like you would say, like, oh, I don't like her as a person because she seems so cold, but I feel like it's a story there.
Everybody you don't like, I love. Everybody that the readers don't like, I love. I love Audrey Mason.
I hate Audrey Mason. I feel like she's a cold woman, and I'm not a cold woman.
Yeah.
So I would read a story. I've read stories about cold women and be like, wow, it's a good perception. Like, it's a good reason. Like, not a good, but they make for good stories.
Right, they do. Casimir is my favorite character.
Who? I'm sorry, who is?
Casimir is my favorite character.
Really?
Yes. Hands down, favorite.
Thirsty. She too thirsty.
She is.
It's like I wanted to like her and I wanted to root for her, but the level of thirst, it's like, girl. And I think because she actually has the means to her own success, she keeps standing in her own way.
So you see her, yeah.
Your thirst is getting in the way of your success. Like, you out here with the sugar daddies, you can't concentrate on. You got to pick which one of these people you want to be. If you want to lay up and just be taken care of by a rich man, follow that dream. Commit to that dream. I'm all for it. Listen, if you got the means to do it, sis, go ahead. Play them how they play us. If you want them, I support women, especially Black women, being taken care of. I am a fan. I will say this publicly. I am a fan of Black women being taken care of and not having to do anything to be taken care of. I am a huge fan of that. If I met a man and he had the means to take care of me, he will never hear from me again. I would like to be taken care of. I am at the point in my womanhood where I don't want to do nothing but exist.
Right.
So, but Kaz, you can't want to be Beyonce too. Like, right. That's not how this works. Like, if you want to be Beyonce, you got to put in the hours, you got to put in the time and energy to become Beyonce. Like, you can't be Beyonce, like, you can't be Beyonce, want to be Beyonce and want to be Pamela Anderson. I'm sorry, I don't know any other, like, I don't know any Black women who have successfully, not Pamela Anderson, Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna, yeah,
that one. Like, you can't want to be both. Like, either you want to be Beyonce or you want to be Anna Nicole Smith. Who do you want to be?
Right. And she wants to be both. Yeah.
And she wants to be both. And then she wants to drag Sin into it too. Yeah. Like, wait a minute. This man don't do nothing but mind his business. Why would you do this? And it's like for people like him, like you ruin a good business relationship for nothing because
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
never going to work with you again. Not just
right.
not trust you. This man is never going to. And you literally said that you did not reach this kind of level of success until you started working with him as a producer.
Hmm.
So why bite the hand that really is helping you make your wildest dreams come true?
Right.
I think that it's not necessarily I dislike Cass. I just want Cass to get out her own way. Like make your life
Right.
make sense. Now, if you okay with doing like you want to be a D-list celebrity and be taken care of, be okay with that. Commit to it. Commit to the
Right. Right.
lifestyle you want to live. Like you can't do both, sis.
Yeah, she's not okay with either. So yeah.
It's like I think that was my issue with Cass, and also shitting on people who support you. Like this man
Right.
really trying to. This man really was sacrificing a lot to assist you in getting this project done, and this is how you repay him.
Yeah. Yeah. She played everybody, including herself.
Yeah. So did people like Demi? Like, what was the response to Demi? Demi a fucking know it all.
I don't think that I didn't get a lot. Like a lot of people didn't say a lot about Demi. Um, I think people liked her in the Quarantine Chronicles. As far as this, she doesn't have a big role. It just really shows who she is in this friend group, like her importance to this group of people. She is a know-it-all.
I'm Demi. Like out of all the characters, I would be Demi. I'm
Yeah.
the very supportive. I'll get things done for you. Um, my sister tells me I'm a bougie hippie because I just want to drink my teas and natural. I'm gonna give you natural herbs and we're gonna pray. And she'd be like, "Girl, you is a hippie. Like
But
you."
Demi has a dark side. It was just one line that Cass said about her shadow being like she has a dark shadow, and
No, I knew Demi.
because she don't
So
play with her.
I knew Demi had a dark side when she told her that she would be the. I'll be the. What she said, I'll be the unemployed bitch ass, and that's
Yeah.
all. That's also, that's also me. I felt that
Yeah.
in my spirit when she let Tamara know that I'll snatch. You ain't got an issue with me, and if you don't if you keep talking to me crazy, I'll make sure that the issue is fixed. So I mean, I'm not like that no more. I'm not like that no more. But I
Right. So
definitely
let Demi drink her tea, let her steep her weed in her
that's
tea, and do
kind
her
of like
yoga.
that's the kind of person like let me stay in this Zen place because if I come out the Zen place, it's just not going to be a good experience for nobody. So
Right. That's
let
Demi.
and I'm like I'm trying and it was like I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be kind to you and you deciding to have an attitude with me. So now I got to show you that I could be the bitch that you want that you need.
That's all Demi. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the character I related to the most out of like this group of characters.
Hmm.
Definitely not Aurora. I love Aurora though. Like we would be friends. We would be friends. We would definitely be friends because
I
I
love
love
Rory.
how quirky. I love how quirky and corny she is.
Hmm.
I love like that she doesn't like she's so like she knows stuff. She's so smart, but she's so remiss. Like everything with her is like, oh wow, really? Oh,
Yeah.
and it's like I love that she's so. And I actually have a friend that's very has that very keen aloofness to her, where it's like, girl, you too smart to be this stupid. Like
She
you're not.
is.
Everything is going on around you, and you know nothing about anything that's going on. Like
Right. Yeah. She just wants to play. She just wants to color and make pottery and
yeah, like
birth babies.
I was painting. Bitch, it's a storm outside. What were you doing? I was doing a sculpture. And it's like, you don't have no food in your house, but you got a sculpture. What was you like? What was you gonna do with that? It was beautiful. I'm gonna look at it. Young
Yeah.
girl. So okay. Wait, I asked you that. Where will okay, can we get an update on where Sin and Rory's follow-up is going to take us?
Um, they might get on your nerves. They have gotten on my last nerve.
Oh no.
Sin and Rory's story is gonna go just like Sin and Rory's story is going. In that
Oh, I like that. Like, wait a minute. She
in
ran away.
that
She
I'm
ran
trying to
away.
I'm trying to choose my words. Even though it's a slow burn, it seems like it's an insta love. They're an insta love. It's
Yeah.
just the book built slow, like
Yeah, and
had a
it's weird.
foundation.
'Cause I usually don't like Insta. That's so weird. I was surprised when I went back and reread it. I was like, they literally saw each other and both had the same. And that's what made me ask, like, are their feelings real? Like, as the author who put this book out there,
Yeah.
would you say their feelings are 100%
Their
genuine?
feelings are real. Their feelings are real. I think they both made it very clear. Like he's allowing her to see herself and be herself. He's allowing her to explore herself in other ways. Even like with the rose toy, when he's like, you got to know your body. Like you got to be able to do this for you. Um, and she's allowing him to be himself, both sides of himself. So I think that their feelings are real, but I think we write insta love like, oh my God, and happily ever after. But when you fall for somebody real quick, it's bumpy. So there are some bumps for them. There's some bumps for them.
I mean, yeah, this is a whole child involved.
And the child, I think, is the least of the issues. But the child is an issue. But the child is the least of the issues, probably.
So will we see them, like, I just don't see Sincere chasing her.
You don't?
No, I don't. Like, and I think like it left off on such a cliffhanger where it's like she's like going to Delaware and it's like he's gonna follow her to Delaware. I want like I guess I just want to see such a I guess seeing I guess I'm excited for book two because seeing such a reserved man, what kind of drastic measures will he go to? Like, was this impactful enough? This experience with Rory impactful enough to make Sincere not necessarily change his character, but
Sin is an asshole. Sin is selfish. Sin likes to be in control. Sin is like one of them guys that's like, I'm not
I don't
chasing no
see
woman.
him right. But see, I don't see him as a selfish asshole though.
I mean, not in that he won't give, but he is very like territorial. Like, this is mine. Like, this is my toy, and you can't have it. And sit it here. And my agenda is what's important. Even
Right.
if he tries to respect your agenda, his agenda is paramount.
I don't know. Maybe I like him too much because I
I
just
love him. I love him, but he really is that like
he's a real alpha male where a lot of men pretend to be alpha males
right,
where he kind of determines the flow, which is
right.
why I'm saying why this is why I'm saying like I just can't imagine him chasing her. She's a runner. She's a runner. She's a track star.
Mhm.
She gonna run away with like she's a runner. Like that's
Mhm.
what she does. She caught Lee cheating and she was like, perfect. It's an opportunity for me to leave.
Get out this damn relationship. Yeah.
Right. She's somebody like she is not solution oriented. She's like always waiting for an opportunity for life to fuck up so she could be like, oh great. I'm glad this happened so that now I can.
But Rose steps out of her character quite a few times in this book, in the second book also. So she steps out of herself a little bit too.
She gonna start dating somebody else.
I don't know.
You gotta give us a little bit, ma'am.
I don't She is not gonna let people continue to play with her 100%. That's one thing. She is gonna put her foot down in some situations where bitch stop playing with me. And I like that because that was like my test reader was like, this don't sound like Roy. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, it don't sound like Roy. They're both. You're gonna see both of their other sides
So she grows a backbone.
in some instances. Yeah,
Okay.
she doesn't want a like she doesn't want to be aggressive. She doesn't want to be mean. She doesn't want to be rude. But
You have to sometimes.
yeah, exactly. So she's learning that because Casimir is Casimir.
So her issue is with Casimir.
Casimir is doing is.
But see, I guess because I would expect her to be a non-issue because once Sincere realizes what she did, he gonna nip that in the bud. Non-issue.
Sincere, but he's not confrontational. Like he is somebody that's like, oh, I got you.
I don't feel like it needs to be confrontation. Like, yeah, I got you. You did that, and now
Mhm.
you played yourself out of whatever opportunities that I could have provided for you, and we done. Like it's done. Like it's no conversation needed. Like it's done. That's a done situation. That situation was done as soon as she posted what she posted. Like as soon as she did what she did, conversation was done. It's done. Like I don't even feel like Cass need to be in the second book. Honestly.
She does. I like it. She does.
You a drama starter. You as a drama starter.
Yeah, she's a shit starter because she has an agenda. Like she said it in the book. Like I don't want him. I just want to use. I want us to come together and blow each other up, and then you can go back to your life. Like you can even date him in private. I want him to be mine for public, and so she's on. That's where she's stuck at.
Again, sis is in her own way. Like, girl, this man, now you really stuck because what happens when he no longer works with you? Like,
Right.
you can't, people like him, you can't push into a corner.
Correct.
And it's like you push this person into a corner and they don't come out fighting, they literally kill you and you're dead. That's it. You're dead to him. It's done. You can't apologize your way out of this. You can't finesse your way out of this. You don't have anything that this man wants for him to give him a reason. And that's why I feel like it's like, what more trouble can she cause? Because that one thing was enough.
Yeah, but that one thing has lasting effects for them.
Oh, so how soon can we expect love?
No, I didn't freeze. I tried to freeze.
I was like, wait a minute, like what happened?
So I am hopefully really soon. I keep saying soon because I don't want to give a date, but
give a month. Give a month.
I'm
as in April, as in May, as in June.
So my goal is April. May would be the furthest. Yeah.
And have you worked?
Because I'm tired of them. I'm sorry. I'm tired of them. Like I want to be done with them.
So this book is going to be book 2 and done.
You're done. Yeah. Not that you might not see them in the future, but they don't need. They don't really need.
Out of the Quarantine Chronicle crew. So will your next release after it's Love on the B-side, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the title of this next installment will be Love on the B-side.
Yes.
I saw that in the group. It's a cover. I saw that.
It's a cover.
It's a lot done. So it's a lot done. So you're not working. And will your next release, have you started planning for your release after that?
I have, and that's part of what took this book so long to come. The first book, B-side, to come out is because I had and anything that I've written before, I haven't written things happening at the same time. So like everybody's story overlaps. Everybody is having their own life situations, but they're happening parallel. Yeah. And so trying not to repeat stuff. Who goes first? Who goes second? And how do I not repeat what happened here? And so I'm thinking, I know for a fact Nala and Cross will come last from this crew.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
How you keep track of all them damn kids.
And Ice, our poor Ice. I don't want to throw Ice in the black woman, white male category, but that's where I guess he belongs. So I'm gonna throw Ice over there.
Well, I mean, it's a interracial romance.
Yeah, I know.
No. You can't get away from it. I don't care how urban
right.
White
exactly.
And a part of the problem with urban white men is that they think they niggas and they not.
Right, and he doesn't fit over there. So I'm like, well, it is what it is, right? You know, you can't recreate the category and the genre, and you have to respect, the genres. But yeah, I don't know how Ice
so basically
is going to be
what
received.
You're saying is Demi and Heavy story is going to be next.
Maybe. I hope so. But if they play nice.
But it will definitely be another couple from the quarantine.
Yeah.
It won't be anything new.
I'm not starting nothing new. I want to get rid of these people so I want to write some hood shit. And so I gotta get this crew out.
So how many books are you planning for in 2022? If that's how you feel.
However many come.
That's fair. All right, last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. With everything that you shared this evening, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice before pressing publish, what would you tell yourself?
For this book, I would have told myself, wait till part 2 is done, or at least halfway done.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You feel rushed?
Not rushed, but it's like I had like it was like issue after issue after issue since I released the book, and so I haven't been able, like, you don't want somebody writing erotica and or romance and they are not in an erotic romantic place. I feel like, for me personally.
The
And
energy is
so
different.
right, and so I feel like, you have to trust your readers, have to trust you. And so I feel like it did the reader a disservice, like the 2021 readers, 2022 readers who get their books like this.
Yeah.
It did them a disservice. Like, well, what the hell? Where's the book at? When my author over here is putting out a book every other month or every month. And I'm not that author for you ever. I'm not going to ever give you that. But I pray that I don't ever wait this long to release this part two.
I think readers got to give authors a little more grace. We used to wait years for books.
Right.
Like we used to literally wait years for books. I think that's one thing that this new internet culture has
Mm-hmm.
changed. I just remember, like, I literally tell people all the time. I remember, and then you didn't know when books were coming out. Like I
You
used
just walk past them in the store, right?
I used to go to the bookstore, and if the new book was out, the new book was out. Like it wasn't. I couldn't just go to Amazon, or even like I couldn't just go to Amazon. And I think that's what has made a lot of authors stop doing release dates because
Mm-hmm.
of the expectation. Like a lot of authors that I've spoken with in the last year or two have decided against release dates. And I think that it's better. It could be kind of better because authors are still human. Just don't go ghost. Like, you're still very active in your group. You're still, promoting up. You're still promoting this book. And I think that that's the best thing you could do because there's always new readers to be gained. Like,
Right.
like I said, this book was published in what, August of 2021?
Yeah.
I didn't read it until December of 2021. And I was like, when I read it, and I was like, how did I miss this? And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know it ended on a cliffhanger. I thought it was a one and done situation because I really don't even remember like how I came across it. But I was like, oh, this is good. This is very well written. It has a nice flow to it. Like I really enjoyed it very
Thank
much.
you.
Like Sincere was definitely, I was like, he's book bag material. Like
I love him.
um he definitely fits what the women I know and talk to would consider book bait material because he's romantic, he's sturdy, he honest, like he just got a lot of good qualities about him, even though you called him an asshole. But I like his assholeness.
I love him. He's my boo. And then it's also the fears of like, you got to top that book. Which like you're right. I'm right now. I keep telling myself you're writing a whole nother book. That book was sexual discovery, meeting each other, boom, boom, boom. This book is forging a relationship. So they're
You
gonna
got
be
to
two different books.
meet the standard, but you have to meet the. I feel like
Yeah.
as long as you still write as well and pay attention to the detail, there was, like I said, it was so much detail in book one about how they even got to this place. As long as you don't lose that part of it, there.
Right.
Don't just start making stuff up now. Like you be surprised how many authors like. I think that would have been mentioned in book one. Like, don't
Right.
don't do that. I think that's like that would be like that's like the worst. Like, don't make him start smoking cigarettes. Like, don't make him like people like that's. I think the only thing that you should worry about, like those, just don't make the character development make sense.
Well, definitely no. For anybody who's gonna read book two, I just want to drop this message because even my test reader like, Sin wouldn't do that, and I'm like, listen, you have not seen Sin in love, like so maybe he would do that. So I just know Sin and Rory are gonna do things that you might not expect for them to do, but that is life. I'm gonna do something next week that nobody would think that I would ever do. I'm just in general, not necessarily next week. I'm not announcing anything. I'm just saying in general. Like in life, we sometimes step out of character, but it's still in line with the story of our life.
Okay. So to wrap this up, what is something that you would want your readers to take away from Sin and Rory's love story?
Um,
Sex story, love
this
story.
sex story, I want y'all.
It's a
Oh,
sex love
fun.
story.
So the sex story, explore and have fun and breathe in the bed. And from their romance, their love story, wait till you find somebody who's for you.
Ooh, patience.
Yeah, don't connect to somebody who's not meant for you.
Like Rory and Lee.
And like Tamara and Sin.
I was, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
they both were dead in relationships.
right.
Yeah, just don't write about Lee and Sam. As long as they not in the second book, like
You might see a pop up of some people.
they gonna end up together, Lee and Sam.
Oh, who knows? I don't care. I don't care.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Real quick, tell our sister girls where they can find you on these internet streets and follow along for any updates.
So on Facebook, what is my Facebook? Written by Zahara. I gotta change that, but it's written by Zahara for right now. And on Instagram is authors.zahara.
Okay. Thank you so much. And ladies, if you want to go check out Author Zahara's group, she always drops some little tidbits and what she's reading in her Facebook group.
And thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys are so awesome. Y'all are so dope. And
Oh,
thank you to all the readers who read B-Side and Quarantine Chronicles. I appreciate y'all.
oh, all right, ladies. Happy Sunday.
Bye.
Oh.